assignment 2 part 2 is out, right? Because I am late. I won't talk about it. Hopefully you have read the specifications. Please try to finish it as soon as possible. Next assignment, the optional one will be about Java, and it will be about inheritance. This week we are just covering the basics, variables, what are the differences. We will go into object-oriented programming probably Thursday, but your assignment is about inheritance, so next Monday you will know what are the differences between inheritance in C++ and Java, and you can start working on assignment optional, which will be out probably after the lecture of inheritance, so you can do the code. As I mentioned before, there is a question about Java, so try to practice a little bit with the tutorial questions, which I am working on today, and with assignment, optional assignment. So, we will look at Java previous, and I haven't made a link. If you look at this website, I will try, if we have time to go there, it has a beautiful documentation. Very clear. It's a list of all topics about Java language, Java Standard Edition Tutorial Java TOC. It's table of content. So if you ever want to find something about notion in Java you are not too clear about, please go and look there. Java comes with a mascot, which C++ doesn't have, and they have a big collection of this guy around. As I mentioned before, you need to download Java Development Kit. Number 8 is what we are using in the lab. Number 8. They are at GDK 11. Don't work with that because it's not implemented, it's not included by what we have in the lab. So to download it, this is the first thing you have to do. Go to this web page, GDK downloads, and there you will have a list of GDKs for various operating systems. We will do an overview today, look at primitive types, and then we will compare a little bit Java approach with C++ approach as object-oriented programming. We have 6 lectures for this. Normally it takes at least 1 semester, so be aware we won't cover any little detail about this, but it will be enough to give you what you need in order to solve exercises. As Java is based on C++, the basic syntax, you will notice is very similar. It's more object-oriented than C++, as we will see in a second. If you look at Z-index, Java is still on the top. So, a lot of people are using it. Wikipedia has an overview of the language where you can find reliable information. Java was developed by a different company, then it's in charge now. Now Java is handled by Oracle, to which it was sold by Sun moved to Oracle. but they introduced Java in 1990s, when the internet came into being. And it was the proper moment because Java came with two features, portability, and introduced applets which were running in the browsers. And this was something which fit very well with the internet. Applications were written for internet programming, and it was at the proper place at the proper time. But initially, this Java was designed for microwaves and other small gadgets, washing machines and stuff like that. It didn't come with input-output facilities. They were introduced later because of the approach they had to have an intermediate layer between the programming language and the working machine, that virtual Java machine, which was needed for these gadgets of Microsoft and stuff like that, microwaves and stuff like that. They realized that it was perfect for working on the internet and working with different operating systems. So Java programs were executed on the web via Java applets, but with version 9, they have started to take Java applets out because of security issues. They were designed to run within the browser, but it was discovered that they can access the computer of people looking at those applets, and that is a security issue. They can do nasty things if they are used by dangerous people. So apparently with Java 11, applets are not available any longer. There are two things, Java language, which we will cover, and Java API, which is a large collection of information about what tools you have there. So our concern is more about this, syntax semantics. Java has become a very large system. You don't have to know everything. Whenever you need to use it for specific task, you go and consult these APIs, giving you information of maybe the proper tool to use. Is based on C++. The main difference is that provides fewer lower level tools. Pointers and pointer arithmetics are not available in this. So C++ are compiled directly to machine instruction operating system. It works directly somehow. They are designed for specific architecture, and therefore we have not portability. So the source code has to be recompiled for each operating system, Linux, Windows, whatever. In Java, this is not the case because Java programs are compiled by that Java compiler. GDK provides that Java compiler into an intermediate level called Java bytecode. So this is what makes a Java programming language portable. And this Java bytecode is run by a software called Java Virtual Machine to convert it to the machine on which it runs. So when we run our Java programs with a compiler, we get what is called java.class file, not for human readings. Java.class contains Java bytecode, and that java.class file is for Java virtual machine. And it's general for any operating system. Java virtual machine takes this general thing and convert it to the operating system on the machine it runs. This makes for another differences. If you have Java class file, you can go back and reconstruct Java code. There are programs, if you make a search on the internet, decompile Java programs. If you have Java class file, you can't read yourself, but there are programs which can take it and reconstruct the Java file from which it was constructed. This is not possible for C++. If you have Java exec file, you can't reconstruct the C++ program. Right. So Java virtual machine is a software, be aware. It's a metaphor, it's not a machine itself. It's a software, it's a program which is responsible for these three components. It does loading a Java program, interpreting the bytecode instructions, the code in Java filename.class, and mapping them into instruction available on the machine. So this is when our program can run on a Linux if it's the case, because JVM knows this. And this part is performed by JIT, G-I-T, just-in-time compiler. So be aware this just-in-time compilation, it's a subpart of Java virtual machine. Right. So everything in Java has to be inside the class. You can't have global variables, you can't have variables declared outside the class. So from this point of view, Java is more object-oriented programming than any C++ program. People say it's still not a pure object-oriented programming because there are things which are outside. Simple types, int, float, and double values, Boolean values, they are not defined with classes. And the reason was efficiency, performance. If everything would be a class, the running of the programs, which were at the beginning very slow, they have speed up along the years, but if everything would be class, things would be significantly slower. You will see int, float, chars are called native type, and they are the only way which are stored on the stack. Everything else is on the heap. Everything else are references, we call it, which have pointers behind, but you don't see them. So, only when we talk about generics, which is templated version for Java, they don't work with primitive types. They work with classes. So around primitive int, there is a class called integer. Just a wrap around the primitive types to be allowed to have templated classes working with integers, float, chars, and so on. Right. So be aware of this. The only non-objects are variables of primitive types. Some constraints when you write programs in Java. Normally you will have one class per file. You can put more classes per file, but normally you have one class and the name of the class will be the name of the file. Hello world.java will be the name of this file. Everything is implemented inside the class. You will see. Public, we have here a function. And it's the entry point. Main is a function, and it has to be unique in the file. Only one class in the file can have main, because that is the entry point. Even if you put more classes in the file, they are not to be public all. Only one has to be public, and only one has to have the main function. Now, as you can see, this is the class we are declaring, class keyword. This is what name we get for the file. Be aware, in Java it's a convention. Classes start with capital letters. It's a convention, it's a style. Everyone in Java community follows this style. And because Java is case sensitive, the file name has to be identical. Hello world. And it's important this because the compiler finds the types based on the names you give there. Okay. So, as you can see, public is this class, so it's available to outside world. Inside we have a function main which returns void, recognized from the C. It's a public function and it's associated to the type itself. Static is like in C, associated to the class, not to individual objects. It takes one argument. It's an array of strings. Normally you use this at command line to enter or run this Java program, read input from this input file, the second argument, and display output on the third argument file. This is the list which is used when you run Java at prompt. We will run it from the site, and then you don't have to pass any arguments. There are some default values. Right, now what it does, this program doesn't do much. It just displays on the standard output device, which is a screen, hello world. Now, we will come back. Everything which is between double quotes is a string. Notice the strings in Java are with capital S. It's a type. And notice that in Java, because we don't, it's not allowed pointer notation, you will see that this is a type called system part. It's a class in language, Java language, by default available to you. And this system has a data member, which is a predefined value, a field called in Java out, which is a print stream type, a print stream type. So class, this is a field in that class, and it's a static field associated to the class itself. So this is a member in this class, and this is of a type which provides a method called println. So to access the method for that object, dot println. And we will see, this println is overloaded for getting any type of input you can imagine, strings, integers, Boolean types, and so on and so forth. So, how to run it? If you run it at the prompt, if you like to work with Windows command prompt, you have first to check that you have your file, assume that it's in your C directory, so list file, and you get a list of all possible files. Hopefully you have this in that list, and then you invoke Java compiler, which comes from JDK, as I mentioned, and you invoke Java compiler on the Java thing. Make sure that the class was created. If the class was not created, maybe the compiler was not found, or there are mistakes in your file, you will have a lot of errors. Assuming that everything works, then you call JVM on hello world with nothing. So JVM will work on this hello world class and do those things I mentioned, and then the output is there. So, explanations. If you do it with Site, you just have to compile your file and run it. And if it's everything there, it will run. Right. Remember, main is the entry point in your program. And if you have more types working together, somewhere you will have to have main function. For your optional assignment, you will have to create the main function yourself when you submit your assignment, but we will talk about this later. I have to. So, output associated to the standard output device, this is the only thing we will talk about. How to do output to files, it's not covered because we don't have time. But you can work with files as well, using different tools. In order to do output to the standard output file, you will copy a lot this system out, and you can use print without changing the line at the end. With print line, you display whatever is there and change the line. So you have everything displayed on individual lines. Now, here I introduced today, just today. If you want to find out this information about out and system, when you go to Java Docs Oracle Java SE 8 Docs API, you are presented with a list of packages. Java language, java.lang, is a package which is by default included in your Java programs by the system. And then, if you go to this java.lang, you can click on it, and then you will be displayed with a list of what types are included in this Java-lang package. Package means a collection of other directory. They are inside Java-lang directory. And somewhere here is the system, which okay, so the system is in alphabetical order. System code, unseat. I don't know when it's displayed. You know. I can go to the site, but we will see. It's after string somewhere. Okay, from current slide. So system is just at the bottom here. Makes the thing, it's a little bit down. System, see it? It's written system. After string builder, it's system. And if you click on it, you will see this class system. class system. It gives you access to the class. It says it's non-instantiable, and the fields, which means data members, are ERR in OUT, out. Out is the one we have seen. And then if you click on out, it says it's print stream type. It's a static print stream, which means out is a static data member associated with the class, right? And is of type print stream. And then you click on print stream, and here you have information about print stream, and it gives you method. One of the methods are print line. This is in print stream. Notice how many overloading print line we have. You can do every type, native types, array of characters, Boolean type, no argument, object, which is the root of every class in Java, and string. This is the most versatile thing. So you can pass, but what is important to notice, you can pass one argument only to print line, one. Okay, we will come back to this. So, its syntax is like in C++, and I won't cover anything. So you have int here, for loop, break, if statement, display. This is a way to make sure that you have one argument. You use the plus operator, which is concatenation of strings, be aware, to convert integers to string, and you get one argument, which is a string, if you want to display it. Okay, so be aware, it's this small thing. Print line needs one argument, plus means converting this. If you want to just display the result of an integer I added by 5, you say I plus 5. The result is processed like addition of integers and display. But if you want to put comma, you can add integers and strings. But that end relies on implicit conversion. Is the only way in which Java does implicit conversion. Because we will see there are methods to string, converting everything to string. So you have implicit conversion to string, another string concatenation, that is plus. Notice that we have a Boolean type, and that is working with true and false and Boolean operators, or and not and stuff like that. While loop, as you know it, and test is set to another Boolean value, and then we go to some other next thing and display whatever value we have for I. So this code, except system out print line, which I explain now, should be familiar. Boolean type is similar to the C++ Boolean type, but we will see there is no conversion to int implicit. If you print test on the screen, it becomes true. It displays true, not 1, no 0. A difference between Java types, primitive types, and C++ types is that they are of fixed range. In C++, integer range depends on the computer on which it runs. It can take the largest range for integers on the operating system. When we have operating system 10, if the integer range was extended by the operating system, C++ will extend its range. But in Java, the language insists on this fixed range. So these are primitive types. Boolean character byte short. So size in bits fixed, default values. Everything comes with default values. Float and double, which have different size when they are working in Java, and they have different ranges, but they are of large ranges. And this stands for IEEE standard 754 floating point. If you want more details, you can go and find out. So a number to the power minus 45. Imagine it's something multiplied by 1 over 10 to the power 45. A lot of precision digits, and this comes somehow for dealing with finance and stuff like that. And for the double, the largest value is of 1.79 times 10 to the power 308. 308, it's a huge range. For very accurate computation, this might be of use. Oh, okay. This is one difference. Java has fixed range and requirements for what is in their range. What is different compared to C++? Syntax same, but most things are the same. The portability, which comes from virtual machine, no access to pointers, direct access to pointers, no. And you can't use pointer arithmetic. If a type is not primitive, not int float, then it's called reference type, which means it has to be declared with new. If I have a type with a class, right? Even strings should, in principle, be declared with new, because string is a class. But there were some syntax sugar behind the scene, and we can skip using new for string. But if I have a class called my object and I declare a variable of that type, I have to use new and invoke the constructor. Invoke the constructor. New object. And they are called references to an object, and they are all defined on heap. The only way to create Java is to use new. This is an incomplete definition. If we leave this and we try to invoke a method on this object, things are not working. You can, in your mind, say, oh, this is like I declare object a pointer to something. But it doesn't point to anything, so it's not complete. Right. Another difference, you don't have to worry about memory leak. You don't invoke delete on your variables, never. Delete is not used in your programs. There is an automatic garbage collector, which makes your life much easier. Right. So we will see what packages are, and I showed you how to browse a little bit API. We looked at that information provided by the Java language system about Java language. There are zillions of classes, graphics, events, security. We are not touching this, right? But we will look at the interfaces, a little bit of input-output, user interfaces. No, we will look at interfaces when we talk about classes, and mathematics not really. Now, we are relying on Java 8, and this is the end. Next time we will talk about Java variable. You might want to look at Java 11 if you are curious. The thing is, the Java community says that every 6 months they will release some new documentation. Every 6 months, twice per year, which is a little bit much. But we will see. Thank you very much. So, tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, on Wednesday, I will try to run some programs. Sorry for being late. I will put the program for this tutorial today. Thank you. See you on Wednesday.